Hello, I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. Today, we sit down with a locally owned company committed to the revitalization of historic New Orleans neighborhoods. Also, the Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association recently held their first in-person conference since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll find out what skills the housing managers of Louisiana are taking back to the residents in their communities. We have a great show planned for you today, so don't go far.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
The New Orleans Restoration Properties is a fourth-generation, full-service real estate development company that specializes in the restoration of historic properties. Joining me now are the co-owners and managing members of the New Orleans Restoration Properties, Mrs. Marcia Delat and Mr. Paul Irons. Welcome to the both of you to Affordable Housing Matters.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And let me introduce you to our audience by having you tell them what it is your organization is all about, and I will defer to the lady.
Okay. We are, as you've mentioned, the fourth generation real estate development general contractor, if I'm going to be specific on what we do, firm that started with our great-grandfather from Holly Grove, which is where Paul and I are brother and sister, where we grew up. And so we do affordable housing, market rate, as well as short-term rental. But of course, the newest, I'm sure we'll talk about later, our newest project is affordable housing unit that's happening in New Orleans. So we're passionate about making sure that we continue this legacy that's been given or passed down to us in a way that would be respected by those who started.
Mr. Irons, this sounds like a public service passion on the part of your family.
I would say that it is a public service passion, and the main thing that makes it a passion for us is that we can work in the community that we grew up in. So for us, that's important. Our families have always been passionate about their neighborhood, and that's what's been taught to us, to take care of your neighborhood, to make sure that you keep a good name, that you do what's right. And our latest opportunity was in the Holly Grove neighborhood to be able to give back. So for us, this is something we grew up watching our family do. Yes. I can remember car rides where, you know, we would be driving down the street and our parents would say, you know, who bought that property right there and who owns it? Going with our parents to pick up rent, working on houses in the summer, doing construction work, and it kind of all rolled, you know, into real estate development. All rolls into real estate development. So my passion was always first to play football, and then once that was
you did. You were a tight end with what, the Cleveland Browns?
Yes. And once that was over, I knew I would be doing real estate, so I majored in real estate and finance. So as you can say, it's definitely a passion for us.
So this is an affordable housing show.
Yes.
How difficult is it to provide affordable housing in this kind of economic environment?
Yes, that's a great question.
I think, and we mentioned this earlier, it is difficult, but of course you have to have the incentives, right, in order to be able to fund the project. And so on the particular project that we're probably going to talk about later, it's the only way that those kinds of developments can occur, is that you have to stack the incentives, whether it's tax credits, historic tax credits, low-income housing tax credits. So it's, for us too, it kind of has, that's why I mentioned earlier what we do is you kind of diversify in order to be able to sustain. But of course, like Paul mentioned, we could stay in one area. We could do just one particular type of housing, but our passion is also to be able to provide to those, right, that can't, a quality, affordable housing. So that is why we do it. But I hope I answered the question.
No, you said it right too.
Okay.
Because quality is important because you can have affordable housing
Yes.
and it not be quality. So that's what makes quality affordable housing very difficult. Because you build at the standard of market rate rental. You put the same construction dollars into it, but then you turn around and you rent it for a reduced or restricted rent amount. So you're putting something out that could be rented for higher, but you rent it for less. So then there has to be something to bridge the gap. And when you try to look for those things to bridge the gap, that's when it becomes difficult.
What might you tell our viewers that would give them some encouragement where their concerns about affordable housing rests?
That's a great question.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
That's a great question. How do we give them some comfort?
Yeah, some encouragement.
Some encouragement. I think be encouraged that we're passionate about affordable housing. Let's start there. We're passionate about affordable housing, and we will continue to do what we can to bring affordable housing to the market wherever we're developing, because you need a diverse ecosystem in order for communities to work, or cities to work, right? You have people at every income class, so they all need a place to live, to have a quality of life, and be able to work and support their families. So that's something that's required. That's something we're going to keep doing. And there are other firms out there that are passionate about doing this. And it seems that the current administration on the national level understands that this is something that is needed, especially after the pandemic. So a lot of folks have lost their jobs. A lot of folks are still unemployed, and they need help. So they need help to have a place to live and then start working again and rebuild and recoup what they lost. So there's support on the national level as well. That should be coming. It's just about how fast those dollars get here.
Right.
So, but I think be encouraged that it is necessary, and I think people are seeing more so that this is something that needs to be prioritized.
And for those in the city of New Orleans, the current administration, that is one of their primary goals, or one of the initiatives that is very important. So it's going to be out there. They're going to seek for the dollars, which will then bring the developers to be able to do those kinds of projects.
Yeah, that's you leading to my next question, and that is, how do you fund affordable housing, and how do you make it sustainable? You guys have been doing it for a while.
That's a great question, too.
That's a great question, too.
I just want to say that you need partners like Mayor Cantrell in the city of New Orleans who have opportunities where you can compete for funding. So a lot of affordable housing is competition for funding. So you have to bring your best project. Who can do the most with the least amount of dollars will get the additional dollars needed. So it's about your unit count. It's about what amenities that you can bring to the table.
What other partners you can, bring in to collaborate, to bring in other funding that reduces what you need from administration.
Right. For example, our project, Grove Place, is an enterprise green community, which means that it's going to be built in an energy efficient, sustainable way. It's going to have different levels of criteria it has to meet so that we get the accreditation. So there's actually a firm that's actively working with us on the design, but then they will inspect at every phase to make sure that it's insulated properly, to make sure that the toilets are energy efficient, that you're only using the least amount of water that you need to flush, that your faucets are not dumping out too much water, so that it's also not a huge burden on the tenants that come into the property, to where you say, okay, you're getting a affordable rent, but then your utilities are sky high, right? So then we're putting that mechanism in place, which gives us a leg up on other properties that are not doing that. There's green space in the property. A community garden will be there. All of those things that you can do to build a better community will give you a leg up to be the better project to win the funds that you're competing for. So it's a lot of competition in putting these projects together.
And it doesn't just work with that, I think, too, with enterprise community, who is a nonprofit that comes out, and their mission again is affordable housing. Who comes in, and of course for us, what we're hearing is, we liked your story. We feel your passion for what it is you want to do in your community, so we want to support this. So I think, like he's saying, being able to partner, we had a groundbreaking and the mayor just kind of mentioned, it's not that easy. You got to stack, and when one piece falls out, you got to go figure out how you, but to, you know, to put that back in, but to be able to be where you're able to bridges or to be able to collaborate with a plethora. They're not just all here. Is a unique talent you have to be able to. But again, the project sells it. What you're giving back sells it. What it is, what's good will come from it, kind of sells it. So you have to, like Paul said, make sure your project is one that, of course, sets the standards of what right now energy efficiency is saying, but also to make sure that you are serving, you know, the purpose of what you're out to do is serving those who really need it. So I was just saying, just being able to bridge the gap and collaborate with different in order to make this, we had to think outside the box. We cannot continue this or rely on one source to get it done, or we won't.
So you've become experts at this.
It's work.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's work.
It's definitely a niche.
It is a niche.
That you have to be good at and work at. A lot of times you learn through trials
and errors, I was going to say.
So you put something together, and you're constantly solving a problem. The biggest problem we had on the last project was that during the middle of the pandemic, construction prices rose. So we saw a 54% increase in construction pricing.
Wow.
So now, when the thing you could have normally gotten done for X amount of dollars is now costing you X and a half, right? So that caused another challenge that we had to work through to say, okay, how do we engineer this thing in a way that it costs less, but it still does the same thing? So those challenges, you're constantly fighting those challenges of solving problems. So it definitely becomes a something you have to commit to. It's not something you can just do as a side. The side thing has to be a focus.
We had some pictures on the screen a couple of minutes ago that showed a picture of some of your projects, of a particular project that's coming in the near future. Let's talk about that and also bring our viewers up to date on what you have done.
Gotcha. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, this is Grove Place, which we've referenced quite a bit.
Renderings of those.
It's at the corner. Well, it's actually an entire city block, bound by Earhart, Monroe Street, Leandis, and Calapissa. It has 32 units in the development. 23 of those units are historic units that are being renovated and restored to the way they were first built. 9 of the units will be new construction units.
Townhome.
That's one townhome building. And as you see in the middle there's going to be a large community green space, off-street parking of 32 units for 32 parking spaces, a community garden, bike barn, a leasing office. And the community space is great because it will not only be available for the tenants but also for folks in the community to be able to utilize that through coordination with the property manager. So it's going to serve the community as well as the tenants. So that's Grove Place. It's a block and a half from where we grew up. It used to be the site of the old Church's Chicken. Where you could get a 2-piece for $1.99.
Right there.
So that's it right there. So where it used to be. So we remember that place, going to get food and just going to school and going wherever we were going. And as far as what we have done since Katrina, I would say 200 units we've renovated, restored. We've worked in the Treme, we've worked in the CBD, we've worked Covington, just doing different projects, warehouse districts, and all over the city. All over the city.
And I think right after Katrina, because it is what our family did, and because we kind of followed in the path, those that were transitioning out said, call my niece or call my nephew or call my son. So then that's how it just kind of moved on. And of course, with what we do, it was to enhance what the generations before us did, right? So we started where they started, we build on it, and so of course, and we're here, we're where we are today. But we've done just about everything.
You know what tugs at my heart? What tugs at my heart is when I'm out in the community and I have senior citizens walking up to me and saying, "Mr. Robinson, you do the affordable housing shows, and you know what is being done for seniors?" You know,
Right.
Well,
where do seniors
fit in for this? Now, there are specific initiatives or specific projects. I'll speak for us. We are in pre-development for a senior complex in Franklin, Louisiana. And that project is going to be 66 units, and it will be specifically earmarked for seniors. And of course, what we've learned, because we're not from Franklin, is that, first of all, the rents are very low. Just off base rent income, right? But also that they are just living in deplorable conditions, and so to be able to go in and serve, and we're working closely with the mayor, we're working closely with other agencies in the area and getting the information. This is so needed. It was formerly a hospital that's going to be. We want to make it almost inclusive for senior services, senior housing project. So we don't want to tell too much, but I mean, for us, it's almost like we want it to be kind of self-sufficient, or one that can be used as a model for others, because some of those seniors can't get out. Some of them don't have any family members. They've moved on, or they have, children have moved on and they're trying to sustain themselves in one place. But to be somebody to look after every part of from meals to their physical therapy, to their mental health, to their regular exercise. So that's just a part of what we're doing. But that is earmarked specifically. That project in Franklin, which we're working on now for senior housing.
We hear so much about how much is needed there and how many people want to support it. So we've been partnering and talking to, there's a local clinic in town that we're trying to get to have space on site. So then the medical needs, they can come downstairs and get that taken care of. Other agencies that specifically support seniors to be housed in that place. So that way, like Marcy's saying, it's a place where seniors can be, they're safe, it's secure, they're in community with one another, and then they can have their needs met all at the same time. And Franklin is it's a beautiful, quaint town, and we enjoy ourselves every time we go.
Yeah.
We do.
I enjoy the food up there.
Oh, the food's good.
I want to thank the both of you for your passion and for the contributions that you are making and have made to affordable housing. And we want to wish you good luck and continued success, Marcia Delat and her brother Paul Irons.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
We will return with more Affordable Housing Matters right after this break, so don't go far.
Growing Boulder is back and bolder than ever right here on public television. We know these have been challenging, divisive, and scary times, but we're here to share the good news that hope, optimism, and even joy still exist. Growing Boulder shines the spotlight on ordinary people living extraordinary lives who are meeting the moment to improve the communities around them. Join us for new episodes of Growing Boulder and start planning your What's Next.
Saturdays at 9:30 a.m.
Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association is the leading voice for affordable housing, advocating on behalf of multifamily property managers and owners whose mission is to provide quality affordable housing in Louisiana. Let's take a look at what the managers of Louisiana are learning at this year's conference.
Each year, the directors of this conference search for speakers that can not only teach the managers of Louisiana the latest techniques in effective management, they also look for speakers who can inspire. Mandy Ports, Vice President and incoming President of the Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association, speaks about what she wants the managers to take away from this year's conference.
Really, we need a new energy. Those managers need to be motivated. During COVID, we had to alter a lot of our practices and procedures, and just during COVID, we kind of got off track. We haven't been able to have one of these meetings in a couple of years, and so we really felt that it was key to bring them all in, and we had a really good motivational speaker yesterday just to bring some new energy to the group and bring energy to what we do, and just kind of get everybody back on track with normal policies and procedures.
One of the speakers that Mrs. Ports mentioned was Mrs. Molly Hoskins, who spoke of her own personal tragedies and how one can overcome those tragedies by embracing a healthy mental attitude.
Mental health has definitely declined since COVID, and especially because of COVID. People are dealing with job losses, people are dealing with loss of loved ones, people are dealing with loneliness, people can't afford the high prices that they're paying at times anymore because they've been on a strict budget, and their budget hasn't changed but prices have increased. So not only are they dealing with items that increase their stress level, but then they deal with other things such as loneliness, isolation, that can increase depression on that side as well. I feel the most important change that we need to see on a management level is twofold: respecting people's time off, setting clear boundaries for ourselves, and really kind of incorporating good mental health techniques, whatever that is that works for that person, starting to focus on improving their own mental health and working that into how they function as a team.
Also at this year's conference, the managers were joined by the president of the Louisiana Housing Corporation, and he took the time to answer some important questions concerning affordable housing in Louisiana.
We're excited to be here at the LAHMA conference this year, and really we're here to express the partnership that LHC brings to LAHMA. We have a mission that we deliver of safe, affordable, energy efficient housing at LHC, but we can't do that without the partnership of organizations like LAHMA. So really our conversation this morning was to focus on the resources that LHC brings to the table, but also how we plan to help our partners at LAHMA throughout the state and the properties that they manage and the people that they serve with greater partnership, a greater enhancement on increasing our housing stock, but also preserving our housing stock, and ultimately just being a resource to these housing managers, owners, and developers across the state. Safe, affordable, energy efficient housing is a critical need. If it weren't one, we wouldn't be existing as the Louisiana Housing Corporation. And so what we do is through over 23 housing programs, we work to not only provide the housing, but make sure that we can keep people in their homes, make sure we provide them the assistance that they need along the way, whether that's through our energy assistance program, our water assistance program. We provide multifamily developments that are for quality, safe, affordable rentals, but also we like to make sure that people can become homeowners. So through our single family programs, we work with citizens across Louisiana to make them homeowners. And so when you look at the average income in our state, it's important that we have affordable housing. It's important that we have safe, energy efficient housing to make sure that we're pushing our housing stock forward and ultimately making Louisiana better. Statistics tell us that it's not. We have a way to go in terms of making sure that we have quality, affordable, energy efficient housing in communities across Louisiana. Not only do the lack of development impacts that, but even disasters impact that. Every time we have a disaster, you often see us losing some of our housing stock, especially affordable housing. And so that makes our work even more important and makes sure that we have to turn up our level of intensity to work not only at LHC, but with local government, with partners like LAHMA, to make sure that we are preserving our existing housing stock, but also adding to that housing stock to answer that need. I want them to feel like LHC is a part of the work that they do. that it's not LHC and LAHMA, but we may be in different organizations, we may be in different job titles, but we're here to serve the same mission. And so really tearing down any barriers of communication, making sure that we are partnering together, make sure we fully understand their needs, LHC's needs, the resources that we each have, and when we come together, we're better together. So.
That will conclude our show for this evening. To rewatch this or any of our past episodes, please scan the QR code displayed on your screen. That will take you directly to the WLAE YouTube page, where you can like and subscribe to our programs. On our next episode, we will discuss the homelessness problem in our city and find out what one organization is doing to help get individuals off the streets back into their homes. I'm Norman Robinson, and we'll see you next time on Affordable Housing Matters. Have a great evening.